I don't think Kmart exists anymore.
No, it does not.
Treksploration.
Hello and welcome back to Treksploration. I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris. Hey.
Hey, and we are talking disco today. I hear disco's making a comeback.
You know, they said disco was dead, but the rumors of its demise have been greatly exaggerated.
Yeah, it's cool again.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Red Directive today, season 5, episode 1, and we're talking about disco.
The return of disco?
Yeah, the return of disco. It's been like a couple years, right? It seems like it.
You know, it feels like a couple of years. The thing is, with this new Trek, it always feels like a couple of years between everything, and we're just used to that now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even register. Like, I feel like we just got done watching Prodigy, and that was canceled 3 years ago. So I don't know.
And there's still a season.
It's a brave new world.
Prodigy. Yeah.
I feel I can quote our good friend Alison Pregler. Time has no meaning for me.
It really doesn't anymore. It's this whole short season and like 8 episodes every year and a half, and it's like, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we grew up with 26.
British.
Yeah, they went that way. I'd rather them spend less money on visual effects and tell more stories. You know, just me. You know, give me 15, 12, something, 13. 26 would be great.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Look at some of the nonsense that was in Picard season 1. They couldn't even fill 10 episodes.
Yeah,
with
that's true.
Compelling.
If it's filler,
plot.
then
so. Yeah, I mean, I feel like. Go ahead. You first.
Well, I was gonna say there's a meme online that I saw, and it was a couple different versions, but it was mostly. We need TV seasons with filler episodes. We need one where something weird happens, like somebody plays a soccer game and it's never mentioned again or something. You know, there's no rodeo episode anymore. Every old TV show used to always go to the rodeo once just because they needed something to do to fill up 26 episodes in 7 seasons.
I always think of like the biker gang episode.
Yeah.
You always need the biker gang episode.
Yeah. And the teen pregnancy
Sam never leapt into
something.
Did Sam ever leap into a rodeo clown? I mean, we had the teen pregnancy and the biker, but
Rebel Without a Clue.
I don't recall the rodeo.
And I can do it 9 months, 9.5 months, 8.5 months,
9.5 months. I think 8.5 months,
8.5 months. Not sure.
I think it was 8.5 months.
We'll go with that. But this goes strange for me because I'm going to be honest. I've had trouble enjoying it.
What?
I've seen every episode a 3 times because I really try. And there's things about it I like. And I think you said this and I really clicked with me and identified with it because I enjoy disco while I'm watching it. But I never have the feeling like, ooh, I got to go back and watch it again, or I want to watch it over again. I want to watch this episode. I don't know what episode is what.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing about disco to me because, and I don't know if it's disco or if it's just me getting older. I used to have sort of a steel trap when it came to Star Trek in my brain. If I would see certain details in certain episodes, I could pinpoint them to those episodes and then connect them to other episodes. And it was all very specific in my head now. And I feel like I kind of discovered that either I'm backsliding or TV is different now. Like with Doctor Who, I could not keep track of who was where with anything with what. I just knew I kind of liked it in the moment. And if I tried to think too hard about it, I couldn't pinpoint the detail like I used to with Trek. And I feel like disco's almost become that way for me. And to a certain extent, Strange New Worlds too. It's like I'm always invested in watching it when I watch it, but then if I think back and try to think about, real specifics about how this fits into that or what the bigger overall story is, or I can't keep hold of the details anymore like I used to. I don't know if that's a byproduct of the way they're telling these stories these days or just a byproduct of me being 54 versus 24. I just got a lot more stuff going on in my life, a lot more stuff in my head. I used to have a lot more free time to cogitate on this stuff. Now I'm lucky if I can see the episode, once or twice without falling asleep. So I think it's a little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
I want to tell myself it's a little bit of both because it makes me feel better about me.
Yeah, but we're not blaming anyone. It's just this is what we're going through at the time, I think. And it to me, like Stranger Worlds is different. Stranger Worlds, like there's an episode where there's a musical. There's an episode where they're Renaissance fair inside the ship, and there's princesses and stuff and sword fights. And there's another episode where but to me, Disco has the same problem I had with the Xindi arc and Enterprise. That season of Enterprise, it's the Xindi arc. I could not name you an episode. Whereas like season 1, I can go, oh, that's Terra Nova, or
Oh my God! Why name that one? Why? Why would you do that?
Because I like the TV show Terra Nova.
To us, and to poor Enterprise.
But
that episode was pure shell.
Because Disco tells like one story. Well, at least the first 4 seasons for me were like 4 episodes that just took place over 10 episodes each. You know
what I think it also might. And I hate to bring up the dreaded term because I feel like we used it far too much on Quantum Leap podcast, but the mystery box is what makes Disco stand apart from most other Trek. And I think it is by far one of the weakest storytelling conventions of modern television. So that could have another thing to do with why when you think back on Disco, you start to think that it feels a little bit more tedious than it should. And I know that they are trying to break out of that this season.
I noticed that. Did you notice that?
Yeah. In this episode, they go out of their way to open up the puzzle box and show you what's inside instead of waiting until episode 9. But Picard did the same thing, especially the first season of Picard.
Yeah.
And I've said this before on other shows, but what would it have hurt season 1 of Picard to have a cold open with the big bad that they were going to be fighting, whatever it was like a machine intelligence or some kind of weird alien tentacles from the future. It was some kind of
I think that was season 2, but yeah.
But what I'm saying is it took us until episode 8.
Yeah.
No, because it was season 1 because it was season 1 with all that nonsense, and then season 2 was
did they do tentacles twice?
Season 3 was season 8
because the new Borg Queen was the tentacles at the end of the season that we saw at the beginning or something.
No, right? If you recall, there was like a singularity opening up in the sky at the end of season 1 of Picard, and some kind of alien machine intelligence.
Oh yeah, okay, that's out. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Season 3.
My point was
okay. Sorry,
but no. But my point was there was no real story reason to have that as a reveal in episode 9. You could have established that right at the beginning of episode 1 so that you'd know what the crew is up against and it's a clear threat that they're fighting instead of just some mystery that eventually you just don't care about. It's kind of like the DMA last year. I think they called it the DMA, right? Dark Matter Anomaly or whatever the hell it was last season in Disco. And it turned out to be
that sounds familiar.
Weird creatures in the galactic barrier, that kind of thing.
Well, I remember when season 3 started and it was they had to save the universe for the 3rd time in a row. I was like, why? Just tell me some stories. So this season, when Red Directive starts out, I was like, okay, well, they're not saving the universe. They're just trying to find out something about history.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty cool. That's another way for them to do callbacks to legacy stuff. So I'm not against that. I think it's kind of makes the universe a little bit small if, 1,000 years from the quote present of Star Trek, right? Which I guess would be the Picard era. That's the way I parse it in my head.
Same.
Like everything else is like prequel, and then you have sort of like the most current stuff in the present. I guess it's the beginning of the 25th century where Picard left off, and then you have Disco that's way out in the future. To have a plot, and I guess maybe we're getting into the show a little bit here, but to have a plot that hinges on showing a picture of Picard makes the world. I know it's a callback for the fans, and it's supposed to make everything tie together so that you feel like it's all part of one cohesive thing. But 1,000 years from now, it'd be like them calling a picture of our podcast and saying, "This is what what we're after," and it's just it makes very little sense for me. It's like a 1 in a billion chance.
I'm not against it.
Something that we know. I'm not against it either. I know it's all fan service. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's intentional to say, "Hey, we're trying now, in this 5th season. We're trying to make you something you want to watch, because we know you're watching it, but but we want to try to make something you want to watch, or they told us to make something you want to watch. So we're going to put stem bolts in it, and we're going to put a guy that looks like Data in it, and maybe you'll like it."
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, again, it gives you a sense of a bigger universe, but I just feel like when you're a millennium removed, it's okay for things to become a little bit more unrecognizable. It's weird because it started as a prequel series that was well nigh unrecognizable from the time era that it was supposed to be set in, to it goes to the far future to break away from all of that. And then suddenly they start doing all the callbacks and all of the tie-ins that you would have expected from a prequel series,
Yeah. Originally, I think it was supposed to go to the Voyager era. That was the idea, but then they nixed that, and then that was going to be the first season. They end up in the Voyager era, but then things went sideways left and right.
Oh, I had no idea that was a thing. Where did you hear that?
Probably some behind the scenes commentary, writer interview or something like that. There was a big shakeup with the showrunners the first season. And the second season.
I mean that happened.
Yeah,
that happened with Picard too.
But that's kind of like our history with Disco. I'm not a hater of Disco. It's weird. I love the actors. I love the sets. I love the music. I love the characters. I'm just not. It's the storytelling method is not for my brain, I think.
Well, you know what? I don't know if that's true.
Well, it seems like we got a lot to talk about, because I'm excited to understand how you feel about this and understand how I feel about this. And I think when we share, we gain strength through the sharing, if that makes sense.
I think it's called infinite diversity and infinite combinations.
Yeah. So, but before we do that, do we have any feedback or polls or anything like that? Any new members on our Patreon?
Yeah. Okay. So, first of all, if you want to subscribe, you can share, you can go to patreon.com/Treksploration. That's where you'll find our community. You can also find us on socials like Instagram at Treksploration, at Treksploration Pod, and Twitter is at Treksploration without the pod. And we do have 2 new patrons to welcome aboard. And they are $5 member. Joining as a cadet is Scott Seligman. So welcome aboard, cadet.
Welcome aboard, Scott.
Scott is with us for $5 a month. And
awesome. Very cool.
We also have a new captain on the bridge. Captain on the bridge. Joining us at the $47 captain tier is Charles from Texas. Charles from Texas should be a familiar sounding name to fans of the Quantum Leap podcast who might have crossed over. Charles has been following us quite a while over there at the QLP. And thank you, Charles, for following us over here to Treksploration. We really appreciate it.
Welcome aboard, Captain. Captain on the bridge. That's amazing. We're only a week in, I think. And we already got another captain.
Right? I know. It's amazing. So thank you, Scott. Thank you, Charles. Remember to send us your photos so that we can put you in the credits. And we're adding you to our current Lieutenant Commanders, Cosplay Dad, Lieutenant Commander One of All, and Lieutenant Commander Fantasy Fan. So I think that we really are just starting with a bang here. It's crazy to me. We have 2 episodes out. We already have a bunch of patrons. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Trek Explorers. We're part of the crew.
Our crew Albie just coined that.
Our crew is growing. So we're getting ready for this shakedown mission. I think we're getting together a skeleton crew, and I like everybody so far.
right? Pretty soon we're going to be the only ship in a quadrant. We're going to have to go out and save the whales or something like
There's
that.
going to be an energy ribbon, you know, but now we got a captain and we got some lieutenant commanders. I think we'll be good.
All right. Yeah. I mean, it's a start.
Yeah.
It's a start.
So welcome aboard.
I feel like I'm in good hands. It's going to be epic to see how this unfolds as we go forward. I hope that we have a ship as big as the Enterprise D, where you can have 1,000 crew members that will probably never even run into each other in the halls because the ship is so freaking large.
Until they're melted halfway through the deck plating. So this time we're talking about Red Directive, Season 5, Episode 1 of Disco. I kind of thought maybe we would start at the beginning of Disco, but, you know, like you and me, we're watching new episodes of Star Trek as they come out. So I think it's good to talk about them when they come out. So that was kind of the plan from the beginning. I wasn't sure what people wanted. So I'm glad it worked out.
Well, you know, you did put up the poll on the Patreon site, and the poll actually... It encourages us. The vote was for us to start at Season 1, Episode 1, The Vulcan Hello. But I'm pulling rank. I mean, nobody's watching Season 1, Episode 1, The Vulcan Hello without being coerced into it. People are watching Red Directive. And now I have to ask you, and maybe this will be of interest to our viewers out there. I know that you said that you wanted to do Next Gen primarily as what's going to be on the YouTube channel perennially.
Yeah.
But... are we going to put that on hold or put Disco every week as well? Or is Disco now Episode 2 to the end going back to the Patreon site for the patrons? How are we working this?
The idea was we put these two out, the first two, on where everybody can get them and access them. And the others will be our Patreon bonus shows, but the lowest level of our patrons can access them. So,
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And we'll play it by ear and see what works and what people want on YouTube, what they want on Patreon. And, it's all malleable, but that's the plan for now. Yeah. The bonus shows will be the shows other than Next Gen.
I see. Because I was just curious to know, since this is the new Trek and everybody's going to be looking for it, where they'll be able to find it.
They'll definitely be able to watch the first few shows with no problem at all.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Or this show, actually. Hi.
Hi, here we are.
We're talking about Disco.
Here we are.
All right. So, with all that said, our little preamble about our feelings and thoughts and current understanding of Disco. We're not Disco haters. I think we both share that we hope watch and we try to find the things we like about it more often than anything else.
Yeah. Now, but there is still some caveats here, because you had said that you like the characters, you like the setting, you like everything about it, but for some reason it fails to click. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to just point to the beginning of this episode and how it just starts with a bang, with Michael on the hull of a ship in a warp bubble, like trying to disable it. And it's a fantastic sequence. And the entire time I was watching it, I was thinking, imagine how jazzed I would be if that was Sisko up there doing that.
That'd be cool.
Imagine how jazzed I would be if that was Kirk up there doing that. Or insert like Kira, if that was Kira up there doing that.
Can you imagine? For the Maquis.
And then
for the Bajoran people.
And then it occurred to me, like, imagine how amazing Disco would be if I cared whether or not any of these characters lived or died.
Yeah. I care about Tilly. I'm glad she's not dead. They sent her off. To be a school marm.
Yeah, exactly. They sent her off to be Laura Ingalls Wilder.
Yeah, because they heard people liked her, so they were like, get rid of her.
Right.
but at least she's back this season, which I'm happy about. Yeah, it's difficult for me. It's difficult because the Vulcan Hello is where we were introduced to Michael Burnham. And the whole point of the whole movie of the Vulcan Hello is, here's a character you're not supposed to like. And I really took that to heart, and I haven't liked the character since. She's never redeemed herself.
I have no problem.
To me.
I would say that she's just as irredeemable as, say, Beckett Mariner on Lower Decks. who I think is maybe the most reprehensible Star Trek character ever created. So I think that she's got it going over Beckett for various reasons.
For me, I got a thing for Beckett Mariner, so I have to strongly disagree on that. I'll follow her anywhere. So.
No, I really think that Michael as a character has redeemed herself time and again. I think that the issue is not really with the character. It's sort of just I don't know. If I could put my finger on it, I could fix Disco and enjoy it more than I already do. And I'm not a hater. No. I want to like it. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to keep watching it. I can't begin to express how fantastically cinematic this first episode was. It was like watching a feature film. That's how terrific like the effects are. But is that Star Trek? And I hate to ask that question because what is Star Trek? Point to it and tell me.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. What is Star Trek? Star Trek is many episodes of Deep Space Nine. Maybe what is it? The Storyteller? Is that an episode of Star Trek? It's Only a Paper Moon. What's the one with Benny Sisko? What's that called? I love that one.
Far Beyond the Stars.
Yeah, that's Star Trek.
Right.
Anyway, but see, that's one of the things, ironically, I don't like about Disco is the Mission Impossible 11 of it all. Like, it's nonstop, over the top, summer blockbuster action all the time, always.
Pew, pew, pew. Pew, 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 pew.
I kind of get the feeling that if it's just nonstop action, it's kind of like the end of Avengers Endgame. There's so much going on that it just becomes an overwhelming blur, and I tune out, and I don't care.
Yeah, I can see that. I've watched this episode now 4 times, and I have to admit that the first time I watched it, I was really invested in the entire speeder bike, Mos Eisley thing on the planet when they're chasing the 2 fugitives, and then they bring the ships in to stop the avalanche or whatever it is. And I thought that was pretty cool. But on every subsequent viewing, that's when I kind of took a nap. I mean, literally, I fell asleep and then I woke up and that whole sequence was over, you know, and
kind of like me in Avengers Endgame. I slept through that whole, I was like, oh, just 10 minutes. And I woke up, it was still going on. I was like, 10 more minutes. But see, I think what they're failing to see, at least if they were making it for us, which they're not, but if they were making it for us, I think less is more. Shuttle Pod 1, amazing shows. 2 guys in a room in a refrigerator, right? You know, what's the episode of Deep Space Nine where Odo and Quark climb up a mountain? Right?
I forget, but it's that one where Odo and Quark climb up a mountain with a broken leg.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's about telling a story. It's not about how many special effects can you put into this episode. You know, Tom and B'Elanna running out of oxygen in space.
I haven't seen it, but I look forward to seeing it. I think, though, that's an issue with, you know, them needing to make this prestige. Well, it's not, but it's an issue with the current TV environment, too. I feel like they want to make this a prestige show, part of a vanguard of things that will bring eyeballs to Paramount Plus. And apparently it's not bringing enough eyeballs anyway because they canceled it. So I guess, you know, they're good, but that's the idea, is to make it so big and so fantastic that you can't help but notice it. And then maybe there'll be some word of mouth, and then it'll go on, and it's, you know, introducing Star Trek to the next generation. The issue is, I mean, it's taking a template from the JJ verse in the sense that it's making it much more about action and less about stodgy people sitting around a conference table looking at a schematic on a screen and, you know, talking about it for 45 minutes.
Exactly. They're making really cool trailers, but the trailers are 46 minutes long, maybe. I don't know. And
I don't know. No, it really sounds like
it sounds like we don't like it. I don't know. I'm just trying to understand it. I'm going into season 5 of a show I watched 3 times each episode. I'm still trying to understand it. You know what it is? And it might not be their fault. they have to go up against Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, original series, right? And if you think about those classic series, all of those seem to be greater than the sum of their parts. Lightning in a bottle, they said, like with Next Gen, the casting, the everything, lightning in a bottle. It just was perfect, you know, because it doesn't always happen. And even though there's nothing that I can like say, okay, this is why Disco is not clicking with me yet, I'm still trying. I'm still like on chapter 14, reading the book going, I'm going to finish this book and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to understand it. I'm going to get it. But it's, for me, it's less than the sum of its parts, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I feel like even though, again, I've leveled this criticism before. We're on the 5th season of a show where I still don't really know the name of the bridge crew.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned
let's
that.
see if we can name them.
You quizzed me on that. And I was like, I don't know.
Right.
And if
I think I can do it now. I mean, Detmer is the Helms.
Right. The one with the cool hair thing.
The tech one. Yeah.
Yep.
And the blue eye. Right. Mm-hmm. And then you have Awoshikun, who is, I guess, navigation and maybe tactical.
Yeah. They gave her name like last season, I think.
Yeah. And then Reese
went on the away mission this time.
He went on the away, but I think he's communications.
I would say probably.
And then
Linus.
And then you have Linus is there, and everybody knows Linus because he sneezed and snotted on somebody in an elevator one season. And then he's the new guy. I think his name is Christopher. That's why I remember his name.
Yes. But
he replaced another guy who went on to do something else, and I forget the name of the other guy. You know, it's just like. And then it's basically the Michael and Saru show. And I think that my mileage on Saru varies. Everybody seems to be fascinated with that character. And I'm lukewarm on Saru at best. So what are your thoughts on Saru? Because he seems to be the darling of the franchise. I
like the character. I love Doug Jones. Doug Jones is just absolutely wonderful. I follow him on stuff. I enjoy his work. I like the character. I think they kind of petered out. Like he had a good start and he had a good middle, but he kind of got lost in the end of the shuffle. Like his big storyline now is he's got a girlfriend, you know? And when that started, I was like, aw, you know, but it's just like they talk in the hallway every once in a while, you know?
Well, they get married.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
I thought I would be emotional when she proposed to Saru, but I didn't get emotional. I was just like, yeah, you know,
yeah. You know, you point out, okay, you're absolutely right when it comes to Disco, because it started out, like I said, with this huge set piece of Michael on the hull of the ship. Mm-hmm. I have questions about the logic of that, but. And then it stops right there in the middle, and then it does that 2000s TV trope 4 hours earlier, and it's just like, oh God, I can't stand that. But it's almost like saying, oh yes, by the way, here's some character stuff, and yes, it is an afterthought. You know,
you know who made that up? Frank Capra, I think. I want to say Frank Capra. That's the earliest example I can think of. It's a Wonderful Life. Like it starts off where George Bailey's already in his hour of need, and then they show you how he got there.
Yeah. Okay. I all right.
Because I used to say that was the Tarantino-ing, you know, because Tarantino did that a lot. But then I watched It's a Wonderful Life after I thought about that, and I was like, hey, they're doing it here. So probably, you know, before that too. I don't know. Is it in the Bible like that?
I guess it just became so overused. Yeah, but it just became so overused. I remember a lot of episodes of Supernatural would do that. And it was just like, it was the lazy way into a story to start something at a point of high action instead of building to it. And then you go back and you say, how did we get here? You know, I think Allison even has like the joke, yup, that's me. I bet you're wondering how I got here. And
I think that has a lot to do with the way people tell stories now. They have 2 minutes to grab your attention and make you watch the rest of the episode. So they want to give you the most exciting part of the episode in the first 2 minutes.
Right. And you're not going to get a Shuttle Pod 1 in a 12 episode
Can you imagine?
season. You know,
It starts
No.
off with like Tucker and Reed just drinking whiskey in seeing their breath or whatever, and then they're like 2 days earlier.
So, I mean, it is really and indicative of the current TV environment, which I don't know if is conducive to that classic Trek feeling. I'm not saying that it can't be. I'm just saying that I don't know if they've cracked the code yet.
For me, Strange New Worlds tells episodes, and they what was the thing they said? Why don't we just do Star Trek? And they started doing Star Trek again. So you got an episode.
But Strange New Worlds, they rely on a lot of gimmicks. Strange New Worlds,
Spock's brain. They took Spock's brain. I drank some
great
water, and now I'm in fast forward. I went to a planet. There's Nazis. You know what I'm saying?
How dare you, sir?
No, but I'm saying I enjoy it. You know. So
yeah, I don't know. I think about Strange New Worlds, and that's again, maybe it's because I can't keep all the stuff in my head. I did a rewatch of the first season, maybe the first 2 seasons of Strange New Worlds when I was doing my chronological rewatch. And I was surprised at how much I had forgotten. I'm like, oh yeah, that. And oh, I forgot all about this. And, you know, so that's what I'm saying. That's why I think it's really good in the moment. And then when I think back on it, I can't really recall anything that, you know, besides the broadest of strokes that I can latch onto fondly. And I think that that's why I hesitate, even though it seems like we're doing a pretty good job of it, but I hesitate to just dump all over Disco because I feel like there is some redeeming stuff in the moment, maybe, and I'm just not recalling it. But then I watch like this premiere and I'm like, oh, we're going to have the heart-to-heart between Michael and Saru for the next 5 minutes. All right, I'm checking my watch, just get a glass of water. So I'm never satisfied. It's either too much action or too much talking. They still haven't found a balance.
I'm going to say a couple things that if I heard, I wouldn't like it if it was about another Star Trek show, right? But this is how I feel. Okay. And I hope I get to the end of Discovery and they like knock my socks off and I'm like, I want to go back and rewatch the whole series now. This is amazing. This is what I'm hoping for. But right now, like I can't watch Michael Burnham without seeing Sonequa acting. To me, she's always acting. I never get sucked into her acting. I never think, wow, that's Michael Burnham. I never am worried about her because like whenever I see Michael Burnham, I'm seeing Sonequa in front of a camera and I'm picturing a camera crew around her. I don't know what that is, but for me, she's just not connecting to me emotionally.
You know who can be guilty of that? Although he hits more than he misses, but Avery Brooks.
Yeah.
I love Cisco beyond reason,
yeah,
but
Cisco's
Avery
awesome.
Brooks is not the greatest actor in the world.
He can be,
you know, but he can be amazing.
He can make you cry.
He can also be but he can also be screamingly terrible.
Mm-hmm. It's choices.
I can also say that I know that the scene where you're saying he can make you cry when he's just like, it's real. Mm-hmm. I kind of find that scene so melodramatic and cringy.
Really?
It's just too much. It's too over the top. Yeah. See, that's it. I just lost my Star Trek cred.
Far Beyond the Stars is what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think that's the real episode out of all of them, and the rest is just, but that's for another time.
So should we talk about Disco?
Yeah, we'll get to this episode.
Should we talk about this one?
I'm almost to this episode
at some point.
It's going to sound like a dig, but it's actually a compliment. And then we'll start going through the episode and talking about what we did like about the episode and finding the positives.
Okay,
and focusing on those.
Did we ever read the synopsis?
We will after I mention this thing. It's going to be. It's going to sound like it's negative, but to me, it's a positive. I enjoyed season 5, episode 1, Red Directive more than most episodes of Discovery because it seemed to be at least 30% written by a human.
Okay.
And less by AI and committee and too many cooks in the kitchen. Okay, Chris, with that, do we have an episode recap, and a star date and an air date and all that jazz. The director and the writer.
Okay, so
the writer says Michelle Paradise, but I think it's Michelle Paradise and Chat GPT. But that's me. I'm sorry. Okay. That's how I feel. All right,
so
what I saw.
Wow. Red Directive, Star Trek Discovery, season 5.
You're not used to me not liking everything, right, Chris? Is this weird for you?
I was going to say, I'm just used to. I'm speechless. I
watched it 4 times.
Just say I love it,
and I'm trying. Great. There are things I like about the episode. There are that 30%.
Captain Burnham and the crew of the USS Discovery are sent to recover a mysterious artifact hidden inside an 800-year-old Romulan vessel, but they discover that they are not the only ones looking for it. And this had an air date of April 4th, 2024. Writer Michelle Paradise, director, I can never say, Olantunde Olantunde.
I can't pronounce his name, but he seems like such a great guy in all the interviews. I want to meet him at a convention and get a picture with him. I liked one of the shots he did, and I don't know if you saw it or not. We'll talk about that. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm excited.
I think I saw all of the shots. So. But so it says here on my rundown, which is your rundown, first impressions. Hey, what are your first impressions of Red Directive?
I liked it better than I thought I would. I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to go back in and rewatch the first 4 seasons before season 5 started, because I wanted to be on that, like, yeah, disco. I can't wait. I'm going to enjoy the final season. This is going to be great. And as the date approached of the premiere, April 4th, 2024, I just had this increasing sense of dread. And I was like, I want to watch him, but I don't want to watch him. But I want to watch him, but I don't want to watch him. And for me, it's so crazy because it's Star Trek. Why wouldn't I want to watch Star Trek? But it seemed like a chore, something I had to do. And that's even before we started about doing the show. I just wanted to do the rewatch for me, and I really wanted to, but I couldn't do it.
Well, I mean, doesn't that speak to our current Trek environment, though, where it used to be you would want to watch it all. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I kind of fell out of that right with Next Gen from the beginning. I didn't want to watch it, and then I sort of got into it, and DS9 is what really got me into that whole era of Trek.
Right.
And as a result, but I still haven't watched Voyager, and I feel like watching Voyager to me would be a chore. Mm-hmm. And spoiler alert, I've tried to watch the premiere of Voyager 4 separate times. I always fall asleep around Corn on the Cob. Like I can't, for whatever reason, I can't get through it. And I'm waiting to do it with you because I know how much you love it.
Love Voyager.
But what I'm saying is, so that's not something that is just exclusively disco. I will say this.
Yes. Deep Space Nine was like that for a lot of people.
Right? So, and the first 2 seasons is DS9, it's like the first 2 seasons of Next Gen. Mm-hmm. People, even if they love Next Gen, mm-hmm. they feel like getting through seasons 1 and 2 are a chore. Mm-hmm. So the issue with Discovery is that I think that with all of the other ones, we have such a basis of love that we remember all the good stuff. So we go in there primed with that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like with Discovery, it still just feels like we're remembering the problematic bits more than anything else. So you just go in saying, okay, I'm girding myself. I have to get through. I have to, oh, they're going to have all those horrible Klingons in the first season. Oh, it's going to be
that was a big misstep.
The Section 31 show and Space Hitler, and I'm supposed to like Space Hitler? What? I can't. What?
And yet when they threw Pike and Spock in there, it seemed to get a little bit better. And then number 1 was in there, and I was like, oh, this is getting really good.
Right. So let's make a show all about that. So I would say that season 2 of Disco stands out as probably some of the most watchable stuff, some of the most compelling stuff, even though it's more mystery box, but it still has some good stuff. And I think that's because Anson Mount is there to sort of temper it and give it a human face. Mm-hmm. We were doing initial impressions.
Oh yeah, that's
this episode,
my initial
right?
impressions is, I want to like it.
My initial impressions, I was genuinely excited to see Discovery back. I was really caught up in that first sequence with the with Burnham on the ship, and I really wanted to know what was going on. I kind of like the fact that the show has now that they're in the 31st century, it feels like it's really settled into its own groove. And it's not trying to serve different masters. It's not trying to be a prequel. It's not trying to fit in, but not fit in to Star Trek we've already known, but maybe they'll have an homage or maybe, but I feel like it's since last season and maybe even the season before. When did they do the jump in season 3?
The end of 3, I think. Yeah.
Right. So we've had 2 seasons, and as much as I wasn't crazy about the burn, you know, it was still its own problem in its own universe. And then they had the dark matter anomaly or whatever it was with the space gassy things at the end, in the galactic barrier.
I appreciated the concept.
Yeah, they're swinging for the fences. And I still feel like they're doing that. So I give it props for being fearless in many ways in trying to be Trek like, and unlike any other Trek that's out there. So whether or not that works for you is a completely separate issue, but at least it sort of knows what it wants to be, and it just goes for it with abandon. And it wants to be the action Trek, which is fine. That's great. There's got to be an action Trek somewhere. It's the 21st century. We have all these special effects. So let's see how big we can make it. And Disco always goes for that. And for that, I laud it. But at the same time, it doesn't mean it has to resonate with me. I can admire something and still not be that engaged by it. And, you know, this one I was engaged by it because I want to like the show. I want to like the characters. I do have a genuine affinity for Sonequa. I think that she's terrific. And there are some things with Burnham that I have issue with, but it's basically the Michael Burnham show. It has to be. She's the lead. So, you know, the original Trek was the Captain Kirk show. It's only with sort of the next gen stuff that we got so much more ensemble. And I think that that's also maybe why Strange New Worlds to you resonates more, because they try to rely on the ensemble much more than they do in Disco. Disco is much more of a leading character and everybody following that lead. So that could be maybe a reason why it doesn't gel with you. But if you're going to have an action Trek, you need an action star at the center. And Sonequa Martin Green is that action star at the center.
Well, now we have Action Saru. I don't know if they realized when they named Action Saru, the reason Action Jackson works is because it rhymes. Action Saru, not so much. But see, and I like Sonequa. Like anytime she's on an interview, I think I sent you like 3 interviews she did this week on her press tour. I watch them, I enjoy them, I like her. You know, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, well, you know, so I would say that this continues Disco's penchant for bigger storytelling. And I like the fact that they just get right into it. And I get that those are my initial impressions. Happy to be back.
Yeah.
Still waiting to be engaged.
Yeah. Like Saru and that Vulcan lady.
Right. Tila?
Yeah, that sounds
Tila
right.
Man at Arms?
That sounds right.
Right.
The things I liked about it, cause I was dreading it, watching it, but I was excited to watch it. Maybe I'm of two minds, obviously. I'm conflicted. But like, when I saw Fred, I was like, oh, that's cool. Thank you. Something I recognize, something I like. It looks like somebody cosplaying Data, you know?
Every time I watch that scene with Fred, I'm thinking, I know this actor. I know who's this actor, and I have no idea who the actor is. There's just something about the look. I think it looks a little bit like Alan Ruck.
Oh, maybe.
So I think of Captain, I forget his name, Captain of the Bee. It'll be there
Cameron,
on Tuesday.
From Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Yeah.
Cameron, exactly.
Yeah, him.
Cameron.
Yeah.
So
when I saw him and I saw that and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, they're throwing us a bone, you know, something we understand. And then when was it Moll and Locke, when they poured out the stuff and one of them was a self-sealing stem bolt, Locke and Moll.
Right.
I was like, oh, self-sealing stem bolt. Okay, now we're talking. You know, and then by the time, I know I'm skipping ahead, but by the time they were like, and in this episode of The Chase, Picard, you know, found out about where what is it called? Spermatization of the atmospheres of the different planets. I forget what they call it, but
I-
where they see different planets. It's a weird name
Yeah.
like that. But when I got to that, I was like, okay, they're saying, you know what? You guys want us to do Star Trek stuff? We're going to do Star Trek stuff. Here's a guy that looks like Data. Here's a self-sealing stem bolt. And here's a recap of the episode, The Chase. I was like, I like that.
Yeah.
So those are things I like.
I kind of, I believe I saw The Chase once. So maybe
Okay.
if we go into that, I thought it was a fascinating take, because one of the chief criticisms of Star Trek is every alien is just a humanoid with different bumps on its head.
Yeah.
So at least they tried to finally give you an in-universe reason for the just extreme prevalence of humanoid life throughout the galaxy. And I didn't mind it. I mean, it's as plausible as anything you see on Trek anyway. And at least they're giving it a nod, and then we shall never speak of it again. I don't recall that they ever go back to that idea, but I think it's neat that they're until now. So I think it's kind of neat that they're re-exploring that, because if you're going to go for one of the bigger ideas that has been put forth in the Trekverse, I would say that this is one of the biggest. I mean, Gene Roddenberry is always doing scripts about looking for God.
You mentioned that
they kind of, they kind of did it. I mean, so Star Trek V, they were looking for God, but it turned out to be a pretender. So this one, at least they're saying, well, here is a definitive explanation for our origins and why we all are very similar, even though this guy is a lizard and that guy is a bird and that guy is a mole and that guy is just a human with pointy ears. But
this other guy's a barber.
Part of the same family. Yeah. That guy has a ridge on his face, but they're only barbers for some reason. So,
but it's a scientific theory that has gained popularity. So, you know, because I think people think something about life needs to be magical, but a friend of mine once said it's like making Kool-Aid. If you put Kool-Aid powder and sugar and water in a pitcher, you're going to get Kool-Aid. And if you put all the building blocks of life on a planet in the right temperature zone with the right energy supply, you're going to have life, you know. But
yeah, but it doesn't.
I enjoyed the callback to Next Gen.
It doesn't have to be humanoid life.
Yeah,
you know, it could be floating gas bubbles or something like that. But sentience doesn't necessarily mean bipedal. Right. So I just thought that was a neat thing when I saw it on Next Gen, and then I never thought about it again until now. So,
which you would think
I'm not really sure where the fan community stands on that. I'm not sure.
I liked this because now this season they're not saving the universe,
but we're going from the mystery box to National Treasure.
Yeah,
we're solving the riddles and we're going on the chase.
But that's different.
That literally can be very satisfying.
Yeah, but it's different than they've done before. So,
I mean, is it?
Well, before they had to save the universe, or everybody was going to die to death. But this time they're just going to find out some information. You know?
But I feel like, you know, they're making this red directive. So essentially what this Romulan scientist found is the building blocks for the progenitors' tools to create life. And it's like it cannot get into the wrong hands. It's so dangerous. So, I mean, have you heard about the Genesis device? We already have technology like this that can create and recreate life out of nothing, or, you know, as Spock said, it would overwrite existing life in favor of its new matrix. And McCoy's saying, my God, man, you're talking about universal Armageddon, you know? So the import of stuff like this has been put forth in Trek before. I'm not sure what makes this so dangerous and so special. So maybe they'll reveal that as it goes forward.
Maybe, but I like where they're going with it, because I'm hoping that, like, as we go through the whole season, like, they'll just keep giving us more and more stuff, and they'll and then when Deep Space Nine was destroyed and we lost, you know, Kira and Odo or something, and then Odo was still alive in this bucket. Who knows? By season 7 of Disco, I don't know, but I'm hopeful. Is that weird that I'm more hopeful for Disco now than I have been so far? since I tuned into the premiere.
Well, I think. Okay. All right. I see. And maybe so you think that the paradigm shift is really that market. Like to me, it's still sort of like they're on a mystery hunt. It's not a mystery box per se, but the broad strokes seem very samey to me. And I'm wondering now, instead of, trying to figure out what's causing the dark matter anomaly, we have this little thing that they printed out and we have to fit all the pieces into it. And then we'll see what happens at the end. And
right. Which is what they did in the chase.
So characters though. I think it was nice to see Book back. I like
Book. I love Book.
I love Book too. And one of the strongest aspects of the series thus far to me has been the relationship between Michael and Book. Mm-hmm. So it's nice that they have David back on camera. I mean, being Book, and I really thought that they were going to completely ruin the character last season by making him all about vengeance and everything like that. But then they give him this 180 again at the end, and he's repentant and he's off to go do his time. And so we have to figure out a way to get him back. We have to figure a way to put him back into the story. So you forget that Michael and Book were scavengers or couriers or whatever, sort of quasi criminals for a long time before rediscovering the fleet. So it's cool to bring that dynamic back, especially if you're going to have like chases and things like that.
I really like Book. Whenever David Ahala, I don't know how you pronounce it. I think Gabe from Thinking Outside the Long Box interviewed him. I was part of that thing.
Cool.
That. Yeah, he's a nice guy. But anytime he's on screen, I'm like, I watch and I'm like, oh, this guy's good. This guy's really good. And I don't think it's David Jala. I think it's Book. I'm all in when Book's on screen.
I agree. And I don't know what it is about the character. And he has a quality about him that helps center every scene he's in. So he doesn't dominate the scene, but he lifts up everybody who's in the scene with him. And I think that's why, the scenes between him and Michael, it's like, it's almost like when he is acting against Sonequa, she becomes that much better. And I care more about Michael in the Book relationship than I do when Michael is being Captain Hero on the bridge.
100%. Like she brings her A game when working with David. I think David just has this like calm confidence about him, and there's just that it factor when you're watching him do what he does. That like, I'm so glad they brought him back, because like when we thought that was the end in last season and he wasn't coming back, I didn't know he was coming back till I saw him in the previews, and they got rid of Tilly. I'm like, oh my god, everybody I liked, they're just getting rid of people.
So let's do you want to talk about Tilly a little bit, since you seem to like
I'm
her
silly
so
for Tilly. I love her. Mary Wiseman, she was great in this episode. I think that's part of the episode that was written by a human. The whole either that or like Mary Wiseman is just that good of an actress that she can make a good scene out of what was mid script. She was just great. I love the little flirtation that she had, the little drunk thing, the invitation for the walk and talk, the Jake Gyllenhaal lookalike. I just liked everything about Tilly in this episode. I'm glad she's back.
Well, we're going to agree to disagree, I guess. I have always wondered why there's a lot of Tilly hate out there. And
really?
I figure there's a lot of disco hate, so she'll be swept up in it. But people always call Tilly annoying. I always found her funny and engaging, and I've always liked the character of Tilly. I've always liked Mary's portrayal as Tilly, but for the first time ever in this episode, I can see why people hate the character.
Really?
I just the whole drunk scene was it was just too much. And I don't know what about it pushed it over the edge, because it's not anything unlike we've seen the character do. But maybe the shtick is wearing thin to me. And maybe that's not her shtick. Maybe that's supposed to be her personality. But still, it's you go from socially inept to being like this super genius that can do clandestine research, and then back again. And maybe I'm missing a middle there somewhere. Maybe I'm missing a middle to latch onto. It's either just weird asides and non sequiturs and awkwardness, or just extreme competence with no context. So I'm just, I think I'm a little bit at sea with the character for the first time ever. Because again, I've always liked Tilly, but I'm just like, yeah.
I guess I can feel like people can be more than one thing. She can be totally socially inept and not like a robot like everyone else in the 24th, 5th, 6th, whatever, 37th century. But she can also be that smart and that genius. But for me, Mary Wiseman as Tilly always seems like she's like my connection from, let's say, this generation, this time period. Like if any one of us was in that time period, I think that's how we would act. You know, everybody's like, okay, we'll be there in 300 hours. And she'd be like, okay, whatever. You know, I just like that. And I think it's
I disagree. I wouldn't act that way. I wouldn't act that way.
You would fall in line with everybody else?
I would not, sir.
Okay.
I would at least, act like an adult.
Here's my theory on Tilly. She's the only real person. Everybody else is in a hologram. Like she's going to be the chef in the last episode. I don't know if you get that reference.
I disagree with that.
Of Enterprise, but
I have.
Okay.
I've seen it several times.
Okay.
I just didn't watch it on this rewatch.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I just love her. I think it was the Vulcan Hello. It's like everybody's horrible to everybody, but she seems cool. And I really latched onto her. I latched on to Anthony Rapp as Paul Stamets because I love Rent, so he had me at first.
But he's supposed to be a total douche in the first season.
Yeah, but I figured that was where he was starting and he would end, and that was his arc. So I gave him a pass on that one because he was in Rent.
So what did you think of him in this premiere with Sad Stamets? Poor Sad Stamets.
I think he's in search of something because he mentioned about how cool it was that Aaron Sung was remembered so many hundreds of years later. So I think it's setting up he wants to accomplish something with his life, and the spore drive wasn't it. So I like him, and I like his husband now. I think one of my favorite scenes out of everything, well, again, it's all like trying to pick out the favorites of things, is the toothbrushing scene between the two of them. I just love that. I don't remember which episode it was in because of course it was in one of the 10 of the same story.
Yeah, but that's going back. Yeah, going back to like season 1, season 2.
But I'd say if I had to pick a favorite character out of everyone, it would be Tilly. So I'm going to.
All right. I mean,
followed by Book, followed by Grudge, followed by Saru.
Can you?
And now
Fred.
You
tell me
they're going to bring back Fred. Fred can't be dead, right? He's a robot.
So
they can just repair him, right?
They might be. I don't know. They're saying that they have to replicate a bunch of wires or something like that because wires are so impossible to find when you have programmable matter.
Yeah. See, I like that though. I don't mean to interrupt, but I like that Stamets is a pack rat and has a box of wires. What guy our age doesn't have a box of wires?
But why do you need them in the 32nd century when you have programmable matter that can just be in? It's basically you have matter that is like stem cells. It can be anything it needs to be.
Right.
You should be able to just say, computer, replicate 1,000 feet of wire to these specifications.
What if Paul Stamets needs to plug in a Nokia phone from the early 2000s? He's going to need that one wire.
I'm sure that the computer could take a schematic and find the wire. I know I'm ruining it for you.
It's okay. That's another thing. What year are they supposed to be in anyway? What century? It's way in the far
32nd century. Yeah.
That's part of my disconnect with the series too. Is because anything is possible. Everything is possible. So nothing matters.
Yeah, people have pointed that out. But I mean, I don't know that Magitech is anything new in Star Trek. I just don't believe it's ever been so blatant. Like every bit of tech here is just, it's sorcery.
And,
they just want to phaser it and it appears in their hands. She falls out of an airlock and her suit forms around her as she's going through the airlock. I mean, instead of beaming her onto the ship, it almost makes it like they take her in through the window.
Yeah.
And I realized on my third watch that actually they weren't like just bringing her through a force field. They were beaming her on just as they would have hit her.
Well, yeah.
So it's almost like she went through the window, but it was just a transporter.
And then she sits down and everything's cool. She catches her breath.
which catches her breath. There's no momentum. She doesn't stumble. It's
Okay, in Disco's defense, I believe in that time, the future technology would seem like magic to us, right? And it will be that advanced, and probably much more advanced than they're showing. But for storytelling purposes, if you're sitting and having a cup of coffee and there's Splenda on the other side of the room, you just beam over there. So you just you end your life, start another one of you over there to get the packet of Splenda, end your life again, and then come over here to have another packet of Splenda. People are too willy-nilly with the transporting. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, it's part of their reality. So people have been killing themselves since Jonathan Archer's day.
And
thank you, Emery. Emery, what was his?
Oh, I love that episode. Name? That was a great episode with the guy and his daughter. Oh,
and the son that was stuck in the transporter pattern.
Love that one.
Yeah.
I don't know the name.
I had to let him go.
I feel like a bad fan now.
But it's a season 4 episode.
Yeah, it's really good.
As far as I recall.
Oh, now I got to watch that.
Yeah. But I think that a lot of the reluctance to go forward with Trek that you hear from some of the writers. Anyway, I've heard this anecdotally, other people saying it. I don't know that I've ever read it, but they say that the technology is getting too good, and because the technology is so prevalent and so magical, you can't have any stakes with anything because you can always find a fix. I think that's bullshit. I think that that's just a crutch. I think that how many times in Trek do you remember the scene where they tech the tech and then they have to do the reverse ionosphere and let's get a tachyon pulse on that, and that's what you remember about the episode? No, it's just the nonsense filler between the character bits.
But
so
they got to figure it out.
That they're going to tech the tech and get out of it.
But they got to figure it out. They got,
but that's it's still
Chekhov's got to run down there and go like this to beam the person up before they freeze to death or whatever. Now, if you fall out an airlock, your communicator becomes a spacesuit and you turn into a computer generated video game looking thing, right? It just, there's no if like movies today take place in the 90s because before cell phones, because if you have a cell phone, most situations you're in, you can just get out of, and that's the reality. So so far in the future, there's nothing. I mean, yeah, they set their phasers on overload to do an electromagnetic pulse. And then Saru's running without a phaser and he couldn't defend himself. But then later on, when he wanted a phaser, he was just like, phaser.
That's the second episode. You're skipping the timeline.
Sorry. But you know what I'm saying? The tech's there.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, magic. And are they doing this on purpose? Is Q not an omnipotent being, but just somebody with one of those infinity rooms and technology from this time period? Because that looked a lot like the room from Tapestry.
That was like the infinity cone of silence. I thought of Get Smart.
I get that
only
reference.
This one works.
I get that reference.
I mean, that struck me as a little bit weird. They're in some weird liminal space. Like, where did it take them? Where did they go? How can they breathe?
In Q space.
What where is this? It's I don't know. But and then they're back. I just don't get it. So Vance and Michael are in the middle of this cocktail reception, and he holds up like this figure 8 with a little ball inside of it, and then they're gone into or is that just a mental thing? Or are they just sort of standing there frozen in the room and everybody's just kind of walking around them?
Oh, I took it they were transferred to a pocket universe. Yeah, I took it they were transferred to a pocket universe or something. I honestly think they figured out that matter, energy, and whatever, and it's the simulation, and they're controlling the simulation.
Okay, it's a stimulation or simulation?
Simulation.
Because you just said both. Okay.
But what powers do they have now in Disco? Does Q not have in Next Gen?
Taking somebody into an alternate timeline.
Okay.
A la Tapestry.
Okay. Well, we might see that coming soon.
I don't think they have.
I don't know if you went frame by frame through the next week on Star Trek Disco.
No, I try to avoid that stuff because I want to be as spoiler free as possible. So when they had coming up this season on Disco. I didn't watch it the first time. Then after I watched the second episode, I went back and watched it, and I was kind of sad I did, because I saw stuff that is coming. You know it's going to be there, but it's kind of, I didn't want to see that. So I always have a love-hate relationship with that stuff, especially if they're going to be giving you like spoilers for the entire season. But no, so to answer your question, no, I didn't freeze frame and look. I mean, I don't know what you might have seen.
You'll enjoy it, I think.
Yeah.
I think we're going to enjoy this season.
So answer a question for me, getting back to said Stamets. They had mentioned, is this from last season? I guess you didn't rewatch either, but they were talking about how the pathway drive is now like the prevalent form of travel. Is that from Next Gen, when they were discovering that warp drive was destroying subspace and they tried to have this new propulsion system? Or was the pathway drive something that they found because of the burn? I can't remember where in universe this pathway drive fits in. Do you?
Pathway, I should probably look on Memory Alpha. Is a Voyager thing, I believe, but I think it's something they had to develop because of the burn, but I honestly don't know. I know it was post-burn tech they were developing, right?
I guess, but then Captain What's-His-Face, who turns out to be the first officer, Captain Rayner,
right,
says, I'm still stuck here with burn technology. I don't have a pathway drive.
It's not clear. And I like I said, I only watched these episodes 3 times. So
no way. Like, so comments below. Yeah. And this could be from last season. So we don't know, or we just don't remember, but comments below. Now, that's something I'd be interested in refreshing my memory on.
I will go through Disco at least one more time in my life, if given the opportunity. Once it's over, I might just.
I mean, if we're going to be doing it for this show,
yeah, we definitely will.
Right? Aren't we going to? Yeah. So
what do you think of Locke and Moll? I was intrigued by their chemistry relationship, and they seem good on screen. I liked everything.
To me, they're stock bad guys. I have really, there's nothing about them that says, she reminds me of Daryl Hannah in Blade Runner.
Okay, yeah, with the hair,
with the bob
and the makeup,
hair, and the black eyes, the makeup, and he just reminds me of the bad villain from last season that I don't remember his name, but again, just sort of another smooth, green-looking alien. And they, I don't know. And they say that Moll is a human, and they don't know what Locke is. They don't know what species he is. So,
right.
I wonder if that's going to play into anything.
He looked reminiscent to me of, was it at the end of Star Trek Beyond, or the third Star Trek movie, where the captain's face at the end kept changing?
What, Idris Elba, you mean?
Yeah, Idris Elba. His face
Beyond?
changed. Yeah. What was he?
He was a human to begin with. He was in, they retconned him back to like Enterprise times. He was a Mako.
Oh, okay.
If you recall. And then after the Romulan War ended, they really had no more purpose, and he went rogue and somehow got this mutagenic, I don't know if it was a virus or whatever. For some whatever reason, they made him change. Yeah, I don't think it was a virus. I saw Beyond once, and I don't remember. Okay. Because they wanted to have a reveal that the bad guy is actually this guy, and then they ruined it on the commercial anyway. So
they always do that. Ugh.
Yeah.
I want to see where that goes. I want to see where that story goes. If not just for like a fun adventure, maybe Book and Michael end up facing off against them, like hand to hand, or like and to solve a mystery. Maybe they have to work together at the end to make it all work and see that
maybe
3D hologram video file play again. I don't know. What's the end goal? I don't know.
I don't know. I guess find whatever the tech is and then either destroy it or use it to transcend humanity. I don't know. It'll be like Decker and Aaliyah. Question I have for you. I mean, you're kind of a technical guy, right?
Okay, a little bit.
Why is it that when they go in and Michael is like trying to disable the warp engines on Moll and Locke's ship? All right, that's where it begins. It's already down to 50%. Oh, I'm doing this, but why would the Antares or whatever Rayner ship be destroyed somehow if this thing falls out of warp? Wouldn't that just be, isn't that what Michael's trying to do? So they got this chip on a tractor beam. She's trying to destroy the warp bubble so it falls out of warp, but she's saying it's dangerous if that happens and the Antares is still connected. They'll run out of things and you have to let them go. You have to let them go. Why? You were on the ship to try to make it fall out of warp. What's gonna happen now? They're going slower and you can catch them. What's the danger here? I didn't understand anything about that scene at all. Except that at the end, that they rip off Firefly, where they have the 18 different warp signatures going off in every different direction.
That's exactly what I thought. So I was like, oh, look at the crybabies. Look at the crybabies.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It was confusing. It didn't make sense to me. And a lot of people online I saw, it didn't make sense to either. People that were more technically versed in warp bubbles and warp technology than I. Because when she fell out of warp, I believe from the inertia, she should have just been a pile of nothing.
Oh, I mean, for sure with that. But I mean, that's with anything. That's why we have, inertial dampeners.
So her comm badge CG spacesuit has inertial dampers. That's good to know.
Right. You'd be a superheated paste on the back of the bulkhead otherwise.
Exactly.
That's really why you need inertial dampeners. Yeah. So
I think that whole scene, the technical explanation was because adventure and action.
I guess, but it also was, I guess, to introduce Michael's frenemy for the season so far. He seems to be the frenemy.
So, what did you think of him? Captain what?
I like written down Captain Rayner. I remember Rayner because Kyle Rayner is my favorite Green Lantern, so it was easy. To remember.
There you go.
His name is Captain
I wonder if that's
Rayner.
Where they got it. Is it spelled the same?
So I looked him up actually because I guess I just spelled it RAYNER, and I looked it up on Memory Alpha, and that was right.
I think that's how they had it.
Because I was so curious about his ears, and I wanted to know what species he was. And he actually is a known species. It's called the Kellerun, and they apparently appeared in a DS9 episode called Armageddon Game. I'm reading this off my notes now.
Yeah, and they had really bad hair.
I have zero memory.
He doesn't have bad hair. I remember watching it a couple times. I remember watching it a couple times.
Okay. I'm sure I've seen it twice, at least twice. I just don't remember.
It's not one that I go to, but it's one that I've seen.
Is it first season, second season?
It feels like a first, second season.
Yeah, that's why I don't
remember. But it's a Bashir and
but...
O'Brien episode, right? I think.
I don't remember. I said I have zero memory. If
I'll have to watch it.
I would remember Bashir and O'Brien episode because I love Bashir and O'Brien episodes.
Yeah, and
they're the first gay couple on Star Trek.
The first, I don't know. That was Garak and Bashir, maybe. I don't know.
No, but I think Garak just wanted to sleep with Bashir. But I mean, the romance
Bashir never
was real between Miles and Julian.
That's true. The love was real.
Yeah,
it was cemented with that bubble.
He only had eyes for Miles.
As do we all, right? Most important man in Starfleet history. Right. I don't know. He's obviously from the southern part of whatever planet he's from.
In what respect? I'm confused.
His accent. He sounded like he was like from Kentucky.
I didn't notice an accent.
Or something. You didn't notice that? Oh,
really?
Yeah,
no, I didn't notice that.
I felt an accent. I don't know. He seemed cool.
I'm still trying to get over McCoy on Encounter at Farpoint. So
now that was an accent.
Maybe
they hung out together.
Everything sounds normal next to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be.
For me, he didn't seem endearing at all, but it was one of those things, okay, he's starting out like this, so he'll end up like this.
I mean, he started out like this, he ended like this. I liked him because he was kind of the fly in the ointment. He was a little bit abrasive, and I think he reminds you of like a Jellicoe. And everybody loves to hate Jellicoe, but I personally love to love Jellicoe because I think Jellicoe is the bomb. Like, he is the greatest. So I think that this guy has that Jellicoe energy about him because he just wants to do it his way.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that kind of refreshing because we're losing. But no, Michael does everything she wants anyway. So we're not losing it at all. Maybe I just find him more credible because he's an old white guy. I mean, maybe it's just my bias coming through. I don't know.
Maybe.
Because again, like I said in the beginning, you think about everything Michael was doing and you're thinking, wow, this is a lot of CGI. But if Sisko was doing it, you'd be like, fudge, yeah, that's great. Or if Kirk was doing it, or Kira, because you care about those characters. Mm-hmm. I feel like Rayner is someone I could grow to care about, and I don't know why.
Like, if I have met him, I wouldn't go, I want to be that guy's friend. I would be like, I want to avoid that person.
I don't know. I just think that him as a foil is fun. That's the way I see it.
I think what the saying goes about Captain Jellicoe is if you like him, you've matured and you understand things. I don't like him. I never have.
I guess then I'm super mature because I adore him.
No,
I have a Jellicoe t-shirt.
I even hate Ronnie Cox anytime I see him in anything, just because of Jellicoe.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just like, and it's funny because he's like, he demands, 4 shifts instead of 3, and we're all mad about it, but he's just making shorter shifts for everybody. So it's actually a good thing. It's just the way he goes about doing it, I think. I don't like his personality.
Yeah, but it's just like, get it done.
Get it done.
This is not a democracy.
I don't like being told
captain.
to get it done. I want to do what I want to do. I want to work 12 hours instead of 8. Leave me alone. I don't know. Yeah, like I assume I'll like him eventually, but right now he didn't click for me.
I feel like you're going to get to really like him, and then he's going to make some kind of heroic sacrifice.
Yeah, like with Picard season 3, same exact story arc, pretty much.
Oh yeah. Show.
Yeah, Todd Stashwick.
That was Captain.
Captain.
Yeah. I knew.
What's his last name? The guy from Jaws.
Captain Schneider.
Schneider, no.
Captain Dreyfus.
Shaw.
Shaw. He's in The Sting too. Yeah.
Captain Shaw. Oh yeah, Paul Newman. He makes salad dressing.
Oh, he played Doyle Lonigan in This Sting.
Is there anybody that in this episode we haven't talked about that was interesting at all?
I mean, Adira's back, so
yeah, I like Adira.
I'm not really crazy about. I mean, they're okay. Still a little too kid-like for me. A little too
young
Wesley vibe on that one. Yeah, but
yeah, I'm trying not to confuse the 2 episodes because I watched them the same night and I watched them again the same night and I watched them again the same night. I don't know if their story develops more in this episode or is it next episode?
No, I mean there's that's next episode that you're thinking of.
Damn it.
Yeah. So how about Cronenberg, Dr. Kovach, being all
David Cronenberg, Dr. Kovach again? I think that's just John Delancey with glasses on, like Superman. It's cool to see Cronenberg there. I like that he's there. I like that he's part of it. I guess he's taking place of the Badmiral, right? Who is he really? What, he's commissioner something or president of
I don't know. I don't have
Gravity.
Have we ever? Yeah. I'm president of Gravity.
He's the guy in charge. He's the guy in charge. He's the guy that can whisk people into pocket universes. I guess you need him as a storytelling device to say it's a red directive, which means I guess this is the most important thing right now, and it doesn't the rules don't matter anymore. You got to get it done.
Yeah, I feel like that's their version of Red Alert, but it's now a Red Directive. So here's the mission, and you have to go in and get it done. And I don't care how you get it done, and use deadly force if necessary. So
yeah, and that's what that captain is told. Captain, what's his name? Raynor. That's what Captain Raynor's told, and then he does that, and then they're sitting him down and disciplining him for it. He's like, "But it was a Red Directive. Come on."
Yeah, and we didn't tell you to destroy an entire village with an avalanche, even though I think that there has to be a line. Maybe that's where Cronenberg. Maybe we're going to get into that as the season goes on with the Cronenberg. What's his name? Kovach.
Dr. Kovach, I think,
wanting to get his hands on this progenitor technology, whatever it is, and Burnham and maybe Raynor stopping him because he's got too much power, or he's essentially the Black Ops, the equivalent of Section 31. It seems like he's got his hands in every single espionage kind of pie. He's Sloan without the smarm. So I don't know what to think of the character, quite frankly. It seems to me like they're setting him up to be a bad guy this season.
Yeah, he's got that. You don't know, like he could be a bad guy or he could be doing it for the right reason, and we won't know until the end.
I think he was always like the morally ambiguous guy, and that had its place, and it gave him an aura of mystery. But I feel like now we're straying into more of the Black Ops side of things. So who knows where it goes.
I dig his look. I dig his mannerisms. I like the acting. I like the choices he makes. So it's nice to have him there. It's weird that he's just standing on the bridge the whole time, you know, for the most part, or just there. But what are you going to do, right?
That's what bad admirals do. They just stand on the bridge and bark out orders.
So he's the bad
counterintuitive orders.
Yeah. So I guess that eventually, if everything follows, then Michael Burnham and the rest of the crew have to rebel against him to do the right thing to get the thing done that he wanted anyway, right?
That's what I'm thinking. Okay. I'm thinking they may be setting him up as the antagonist.
Yeah.
He's the control of this season.
I guess history can't be the bad guy, or the Bonnie and Clyde, Moll and Locke can't be the bad guy, I guess. So it's got to be the doctor.
Yeah, they're lovable rogues with hearts of gold.
Yeah,
they just want to get a payday. I did like Moll's line where she said, "Do you want the pebbles or do you want the mountain?" Mm-hmm. Because he's like, "Look, we got self-sealing stem bolts. We can sell this and go on vacation."
Exactly.
And she's like, "Come on, we really need that thing in there. Well, that's the real thing." You know?
I think he's into her, but she's not into him, because he was like, "Don't you hurt her," and he was like, "A holodeck built for two," you know. So whereas she's just
but that's when
accomplish a goal.
No, but that's when she said to him, "Think of the mountain, not the pebble." Mm-hmm. You know, the holodeck built for two. We'll have that and more if we get what's in here. If we get what's inside this Romulan Rubik's cube.
She might be stringing him along. That's what I felt. Or he definitely cares about her more than she cares about him.
No, I think you're reading into. I think you're projecting.
I could be. I like that they took the Romulan puzzle cube to Fred to open the thing to get what's in it, so they didn't have to go through all that. They found somebody who could open it, and then they took it back.
Yeah,
I like that.
But I mean, that's. I think I read this in an article, so I'm stealing this. I think it was from Trek Movie, where it's almost like they're saying, "See, here's the mystery box, and we're opening it in the first episode." Yeah. It's not about that this season.
Yeah, so at least we didn't have to wait till episode 8 to read a book.
Right. To get this Romulan diary, dear diary. You can see, but one thing that really freaking annoyed me about this diary.
Okay.
They're going through it. There's one illustration of a planet with 2 moons, and of course, Michael Burnham is the only person in the universe who knows what this planet is. Yep.
Only person who saw a planet with 2 moons, and it's 3 moons, but it looks like 2 moons, and she knew that from the drawing.
Yeah, she knew it from a drawing, and she's been in this timeline in this era for about 3.5 years, but she knows it better than everybody else. It's just
possible.
You know, Fred should have known exactly where it was. They should have gotten that information from Fred. It's more plausible that a positronic android I haven't seen one of these in over 600 years.
Fred definitely knew where it
would have more of a memory bank. I did like that Fred was devious, though. He was sort of lore, sort of data. He wasn't like malicious, but he's like, "Yeah, you're not getting this back."
No.
So see ya. You know, he's willing to rob them.
I love the makeup they did on Fred. Like
they mean like Brent's makeup.
Yep, they nailed it. I wonder if they got the same people. I don't know that did it for him, or just like looked it up in the Michael Westmore how-to. But I like it was perfect.
Well, they did the same thing with Soji.
Yeah, but Soji wasn't she more gold or something?
No, she wasn't. And then they did. I called her like a data Soji.
Okay, that's right.
And it was a different version that was more positronic like Data. And for some reason, I found like she was so freaking hot when she was Data Soji.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Most Sojis are. I think that's how that goes.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Is it weird that the biggest takeaway from this episode is like, I hope Fred comes back. I want Fred to be part of the crew. I want the Data looking dude on the bridge next to Linus.
If only they're going to be able to replicate some wires. Oh, I hope I'm on tenterhooks here. My breath is baited, everyone. It's just so stupid.
Okay, but follow me, right? Episode 7 of this season, Fred and Linus get stuck on a planet, and they got to climb up a mountain to get stuck in a shuttlecraft. To get rescued from running out of oxygen in spacesuits. Think about it.
But Fred doesn't need oxygen.
He doesn't?
I don't think so. Didn't Data fly through space and through like a Romulan ship?
Oh, yeah.
In Insurrection?
Oh, maybe
without
that's
a suit.
Maybe that's the
story.
Going to
launch themselves out an airlock.
That's the story, because Linus needs the oxygen. Fred doesn't need it, so Fred has to watch Linus die until just the last second when they save them both.
Okay.
Where do they carry the oxygen supply in the transporter automatic spacesuit? I don't know.
It's constantly replicated into your lungs.
Probably. That's another thing. You see the replicator? Tilly ordered coffee and it just showed up on the nightstand. They don't even have to get up and get it.
It's Magitech. Yeah. They don't have to do anything anymore. Every room is a holodeck. Every room is a replicator. When you have programmable matter, you just tell the table, turn into a cup of coffee, and it turns into a cup of coffee.
And that's how it's going to be. It is. So they got it right, I think. I mean, now that
I don't know. Because when you think about books shipped last season, you could just basically wave your hand over the console, know intuitively how to steer this featureless panel. it makes zero
Book's
sense.
Eyes sold it. Book's Eyes sold it. That man's got dreamy eyes. So
my eyes adored you. I feel like now we're just ragging on Disco.
Actually, I'm trying to compliment it, and I enjoy things. But like, I guess it's like when you're a kid, you got to eat your vegetables if you're going to enjoy the main course. I guess the vegetables are things I don't like that go along with the thing that I like, which is Star Trek. And I don't think I would ever dislike this enough to say I'm not going to watch it. I understand some people have. They'd be like, not for me. Not going to watch it. I'm like, I like things about it.
I think that's baloney. I think that if you're a Star Trek fan, you're going to watch it. And I think you're even more inclined to watch it if you hate it so that you can hate watch it and then shit all over it. I think that if you were really indifferent, you wouldn't be so vocal about it. You just wouldn't watch it.
I think I'm hope watching it. Do you feel that for me? I don't know. Like, I don't hate it. I'm not head over heels in love with it.
No, that's laudable. Yeah, no, I get you. You watch. I believe that you and I would approach every single episode of Star Trek as hope watching.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're Star Trek fans. We love it. We want it to. We come in. We're on its side. Like we're
100%.
This is for us. This is what we want. So we want nothing more. And then you get Lower Decks, and you're just like, Badgie, really? Dude, they're bringing Badgie back.
Look behind me. I got a Badgie. I love Badgie. Don't talk bad about Badgie or Goodgie or Logicy.
Yeah. Anyway.
Can't wait till we get to those. I love Lower Decks. Anyway.
Yeah.
But
what I'm saying is not everything's for everybody, but I still watched every episode of Lower Decks. I'll still watch every episode of Voyager eventually.
Oh, you'll love Voyager once you get into the characters. It takes a good season and a half, but then they nail it from then on. I feel like I'm in an arranged marriage with Disco. Like, yes, I wanted to get married, and yes, I wanted to be in a family, but I don't like this person.
Well,
I'm trying to.
You got to like every one of your relatives?
No. But you have to see every one of your relatives,
but you still love going to Christmas dinner.
Yeah. So we just get 8 Christmas dinners every year and a half with Disco. There you go. And some of the things I like Tilly. That's it. Like Tilly and Fred and Book. And, so it's a Tilly, Fred, Book, and hopefully Stamets and Culber have some nice moments. Yeah, I think we've expressed our thoughts about this episode of Disco. I didn't think we talked an hour and 40 minutes about this episode of Disco. So maybe it's time for final thoughts. Or what do we do next on the show sheet? Is it trivia? Is it
on the okay? So
Patreon and our post office box. What is it?
Hang on a second.
Okay.
Hang on a second. No, final thoughts. Yeah, no, we got plenty to go before final thoughts.
Okay.
But we can get off main discussion. Episode crush. Who's your episode crush?
Wow. I was tied between Book and Tilly for the first episode, but having Tilly back. And Book's in the next episode anyway, so I was like, Tilly. Let's go with Tilly. Drunk Tilly. Tipsy Tilly is my crush for this episode.
Okay.
Tipsy Tilly. Who's your crush for this episode?
100% Captain Raynor.
Yeah?
Captain Badass. Yeah, let's see what happens with him.
Okay.
I got the Jellicoe vibe, and I'm loving it.
So luckily, if we're at a dinner party with Starfleet in the 58th century, we won't be trying to hang around the same person.
That's cool. That's cool. What's your favorite part of the episode?
My favorite part of the episode probably was the Tilly scene, or the self-sealing stem bolts, or the Data lookalike. Oh, that shot that they had of Fred when you go into sick bay and it's like a crane shot with a turning camera. And that reminded me of a shot from, I want to say, was it Nemesis or First Contact, where they did pretty much the same shot with Data. I really like that.
Yeah, we'd have to do a side by side. I just don't
know.
Yeah.
So I like the member berries of the episode. That's got to be my favorite part. The member berries. Like, remember this? Okay. Remember this? Remember this?
Yep.
That was my favorite part. I think they're trying to give us something, us people that's this show is not made for, to latch onto. And I appreciate what they're doing with that.
All right. I think I really liked the part when right before the big speeder bike chase, when Raynor beams down and right in the middle of Book and Michael's discussion, and he's like, am I interrupting? I hope I'm interrupting, because it sure seems like I'm interrupting, and this is pretty cool. Like, he's just such a delicious asshole. It's like,
and you like that. Yeah. See, to me, it was like that guy at work that's just an a-hole to be an a-hole, you know? And I was like,
and usually I can't stand that, but there's something about this guy that makes it fun.
For me, I can't stand it. So I'm hoping I change my mind by the end, like Shaw. Like when Shaw was giving Picard and Riker a hard time, I was like, I hate this guy. At the end, I'm like, oh, I love him. So we'll see. We'll see. You know,
we'll see. Now, the 47. Is there a 47?
I didn't see one.
I didn't either. And is everybody ready? It's time for you to ask me.
I ask you
some Trek trivia.
All right, time to
put on. I asked you.
My glasses.
I asked you last episode.
I don't know if you know this about me, Chris, but I'm allergic to retinox.
Oh no, retinox 5.
Yep. All right.
Usually, a patient your age, yeah.
Whoa. Okay, I need a second card to cover the answers on the back, so I don't see them. Okay, it's so dark in here. Space stations are dark now.
So dark and shiny.
I can't see it. Yay, mood lighting. Okay, I think I got it.
Some fly by night.
Who does Lieutenant Carey? No, who does? Oh, you'll know this one. Who does Lieutenant Gary Mitchell try to bury on Delta Vega in the original series episode Where No Man Has Gone Before?
James R. Kirk.
Correct. Let me look. Oh, it doesn't give the middle initial, but you're correct, and you get a bonus point for that.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, he didn't know his middle name.
My favorite episode, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, I can't. So it'll be a while before we get to it. Not really. Yeah. In the Next Generation episode, Deja Q, of whom does Q ask, eat any good books lately?
It has to be Worf.
That is correct. Let me double check. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Third and final question. We've been doing pretty good at these. Alan Ruck played Captain Harriman in the motion picture.
We already mentioned
Star
him.
Trek Generations. What quintessential teen comedy? How do we? What? Come on.
We're prescience. We're prescience.
Did Ruck star in as
Cameron Fry?
As the titular character's best friend, Cameron Fry.
What? Cameron Fry.
Yeah,
First Bueller's Day Off, of course.
Yes. How did we pull that one randomly? It doesn't make sense.
Because Fred looks like Alan Ruck.
I guess that's pretty good chances though. But 3 for 3. I think that's where we've been going lately. 3 for 3 since we started this, right?
Who'd have thought that you and I know our Star Trek?
Okay, wait.
I mean, it's flabbergasting.
Wait till we get to like Star Trek Disco trivia. Oh,
Jesus!
The Tribble. Did you see the Tribble in this episode? They gave us a Tribble. That's another member berry. I'll take
it. I have the box. And there's no disco on.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. We're gonna have to get
for disco.
We're gonna have to get like a newer version of Star Trek trivia at some point.
I did see the Tribble, and I didn't catch it until this fourth viewing tonight. It's crawling up the wall and falls down, and it's just like, all right, yet another thing to break canon. I couldn't stand what they did with the Tribbles in the short treks. So
they got rid of them all, didn't they? Or there would always be some.
No, they had to scuttle a ship. Remember?
Oh yeah. That was a good episode. I did like that.
Yeah.
There's something about, or what was it called? The Trouble with Gary or something.
Yeah, yeah, and it had H. John Benjamin, who I absolutely adore.
And
but I just
who was the
did
main
not
woman
like
in that? She was so
torture.
good.
Rosa Salazar.
Yes. Oh, now I got to watch
Yeah.
that again.
Yep. Yeah, and she's fantastic too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
talk about like less of the sum of its parts.
Yeah. So
I guess that's the theme for tonight.
But I'm trying. I'm enjoying trying. I'm hope watching. I'm finding good things. I enjoyed things. I will watch this again when I do a rewatch. I'm not going to skip any episode of Star Trek. So what's next on the
according
chart?
to our rundown, it is now your turn to do a Trek and Tell.
Trek and Tell. Okay. I think I was saying this earlier. I just got to reach like 3 feet in any direction, and I have a Trek and Tell. That's how I.
Okay.
All right. So, can you see it?
I can.
Yes, this is a shuttlecraft, and I got 2 of these one time. I have 2 of these, and I think it's the. Does it say what it is?
1701D, but I can't read it. I'm sure everybody at home can, but my feed from you is a little bit. Is it Magellan?
Maybe. Yeah,
is it Magellan, like Magellan?
Yeah, but this is going to date it when you find out what it is. What do you think this is?
I think you showed this to me already, so I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at home, what do you think this is? Okay. Well, what it is it's a CD holder. So you put your CDs in here, and it's just like a rack to hold CDs. So, like,
which is perfect for you because you love all that old media.
I burn CDs sometimes, and put some like George and Gracie Allen old time radio shows on a CD, and then I guess I just put it in here. But normally, lately, the 2 of them just became bookends or decorations. But that's my Trek and Tell.
Cool.
For this time.
That's really neat. Where did you find those? Where did you find those?
It was something like a Kmart or a Walmart.
Gotcha.
So
it's amazing to me that you can still find just like random Trek swag at a Kmart.
Well, it was when CDs were, so I don't think Kmart exists anymore.
No, it does not.
So I think it's time for final thoughts and ratings out of 5. Who goes first?
I guess I'll go first.
All right.
Since you're the host, you can wrap it up after that.
Sounds good. Good.
Final thoughts. I'm excited for Disco to be back. I'm excited to watch this season, as I'm excited to watch every new season of anything Trek. I think that we had a promising start here, and I just have to set my mind for more of an action-adventure Trek. I'm a fan of Michael. I like Sonequa. I want to like it, just like you said. I don't think I'm to the point of hope watching because I'm enjoying it. I'm not watching it hoping to enjoy it.
Okay.
I'm actually enjoying it. So if I had to give it a rating, I would say that this is a fairly solid opening. So I give it, let's say 5 infinity cones of silence. Not 5. I give it 3 infinity cones of silence out of 5.
I was like, 5? Were we talking about the same episode?
Wait a minute.
5 infinity cones of silence. Okay.
Yeah, 3 infinity cones of silence out of 5. 3 out of 5.
Okay. I like the member berries. I like that they're trying. I like that there was some human written parts to this episode. I enjoyed the direction. I liked, their, cinema verite and JJ lens flares and everything going on. Even in the slow emotional scenes, like the camera's going like this, it's crazy. But I enjoyed the whole thing like that. I enjoy the setup for this final season of Discovery. I'm into like National Treasure kind of mystery things, so I'm kind of intrigued, and I liked Fred. I want more Fred. So, I'm excited for this season. It's like, disappoint me once, shame on you. Disappoint me twice, shame on me. Disappoint me 3 times. Why am I still watching it? Disappoint me 4 times. Holy crap. Why am I still watching it? Because I love parts of it and I want it to succeed. So this is the 5th time. So it's going to work out the 5th time, I think. So with that, the rating I'm going to give is and this is from the episode actually. I think it was said by your favorite character in this episode, Captain Raynor, and it's I'm going to give it a 2.5 cherries on a Sunday. Sorry, you got to bleep it.
I can't think of a better place to leave it. But do we have to bleep it if they can say it on the show? No, yeah. Can't we say it on our show? Yeah, we can
say it. I bleep me because I don't say those kind of words. But I had to say it because this is what this episode is about. This is what this series is about for me. It's cherries on a Sunday. Yes, it's a Sunday. The people writing it never watched Star Trek or heard of Star Trek before. That's fine. But I can find cherries and enjoy those cherries. And that's what I'm there for, those cherries on the Sunday. So I appreciate everybody.
Wow. I mean,
that's doing
the work. You're a poet. You're a true poet.
All right. So I hope you enjoyed our take on on Discovery Season 5, Episode 1, Red Directive. And now,
dun, dun, dun.
Christopher, can you tell people where they can find us, where they can sign up? Tell them if they want to be a cadet or a Voyager or a captain or whatever they want to be. If they want to join our crew, let them know how they can do it.
Yes, they can find us at patreon.com/Treksploration. And we want to build up our entire community of Treksplorers over there. Albie coined that portmanteau. And you can also find us on the socials. We're on Instagram at Treksploration Pod. We're on X at Treksploration. And I think we have a Facebook, don't we?
Yes, and just search Treksploration and it'll come up. It's a public Facebook group, and it's just another place to paste our Star Trek links, and hopefully people find us and check us out, and maybe they'll join our crew. You never know.
And you can also drop us a line at treksplorationpod@gmail.com. So plenty of ways to reach out.
Is it true that we have a post office box now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we are sharing a post office box with another podcast.
That's fine.
But we always have the post office box if you want to send us anything physical, like a letter or a sweater or a CD holder shaped like a shuttle pod. You can get us at P.O. Box 542. Bayport, New York, 11705. That's P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York, 11705.
That's right. So if you got an extra self-sealing stem bolt and you want to get rid of it, you know where to send it now. We'll take two, please.
That's right.
We'll take two.
They'll fit right in that post office box.
So I think that was fun. And again, I want to welcome our new members. We got a new captain and a new cadet. Could you say their names one more time, because they're that important and we welcome them aboard?
Our new captain is Captain Charles from Texas. Ooh. And thank you, Captain Charles from Texas. And our new cadet is Scott Seligman. Thank you, Scott Seligman.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard. I'm so happy to have you as part of the crew. And remember, if you want your picture in the credits, if you're a Patreon member, paid Patreon member, you get that benefit no matter what tier. So send us those photos.
There you go.
All right.
Please send us photos. And should I tell people what's coming up next?
That'd be great. Is it episode 2 of season 5 of Star Trek Discovery?
It is, and it's called Under the Twin Moons. And here is the synopsis you so helpfully provided. On Saru's last mission as Captain Burnham's number 1, the team ventures to a seemingly abandoned planet to hunt for what might be the greatest treasure in the galaxy.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm thinking I might like this one. So, if you like Arsenal of Freedom, you'll love this one, right?
The chase begins. The chase begins.
All right.
Well, all right.
Well, I enjoyed talking about this episode with you, Chris. Any last words before we sign off?
Live long and prosper.
Okay. For Treksploration, I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next time.